Here to join me. I'm going to walk up here to the, go walk up here to the hippie bus. That's where we'll talk today. So there's a plethora of things going on today. I'm shaky because of all that's occurring. Exact Mars-Jupiter conjunction, which is a powerhouse of energy. Just happens to be exactly at my south node, firing up my whole Grand Cross there. Um, interesting stuff. That is a conjunction that it's good for everybody. If that conjunction of Mars and Jupiter hits something in your chart, there is an energetic burst and wisdom that can be gained. Mars and Jupiter together, oh my word, whew, do they pack a punch. So we had Mars and Uranus conjunction, remember just a few weeks ago, where we had the week of disarray that we are still absorbing. And now we have Mars and Jupiter meeting, where we have like this geyser of energy that we can use to power us towards our hopes and our dreams. What it is that we look forward to. That's Jupiter stuff. So we also have Mercury in conjunction to Pluto, which can bring a lot of paranoid thinking and a lot of thinking of the worst. Thinking of the end, interpreting things in a way that's just automatically disempowering or automatically paranoid. So it's very interesting that we have this more negative, paranoid thinking, really looking at what is the worst outcome, along with this very positive, outgoing, pleasurable conjunction at the same time. So both forces are in play. And that's not uncommon to have either, in transits or in the birth chart. We can have these, what seem like not compatible forces going on. And when you really understand astrology, you understand how these things can work in layers, that one doesn't cancel out the other. It's like if you put peas and carrots together, it doesn't turn the peas into the carrots or the carrots into the peas. You have both things going on here, and they result in a mix of flavors, a mix of results. So we have this really negative thinking, these ideas that can really have us reacting in ways that create the worst outcome because of our interpretation of what is occurring. We'll act on that interpretation. We'll do things in that vein of interpretation that then can very, very often result in our own worst fears coming true. So Mercury, Pluto, hard aspects, we do have to look twice at the stories that don't feel good to us. we have to really look twice at things like this, that my mother shows up with a pool noodle and just decides to use it as a giant elephant penis. This is the kind of stuff that you have to learn to interpret properly. Thank you, Mother, for the show. This is the seed that I come from. See, you understand me better now, right? You totally get me now. Things are fun around here. So when we have these very difficult aspects between Mercury and Pluto, our mind gets off track of what is more reasonable and goes more towards what is scary, what is the worst, what means the end, what do we have to protect ourselves from. And so we have this looking at pieces that may not be the truth, because we don't have all the information. It's an inconjunction. We don't have all the information. And so we have to be careful about the stories we tell ourselves, the dark stories that we tell ourselves, and sit on it for a while. Mercury's retrograde. Hello, Mercury's retrograde. Sit on it. Wait to collect more information before you go off the deep end. We had this, when did this occur? July 24th or 26th? When these two were last in aspect. Mercury and Pluto, we're back again. So look at what was happening around those days. We're collecting bits and pieces there. And Mercury goes back into Leo tonight. So if you have anything in the latter degrees of Leo, the transits are interesting because they drag their lessons with them. Transits are like a blob of paint on a canvas. And we take our brush and we touch that blob. That's when that transit becomes exact. We touch that blob and then we drag it across the canvas. And it gets gradually lighter until we reach the next aspect. Then we pick up more paint, but we're folding in all these colors. We're folding in all of these experiences. We're folding in all of these angles. We're starting out with red. The red starts to peter out. Then we get to the blue, pick up that, and it mixes a bit with the original color. We've got a little bit of a purple going on here. Then we drag that across to the next aspect. We pick up some green. We fold the red and the blue into that green. The green is still the most prominent thing, but it drags across. And then throughout the entire course of that Mercury's retrograde, people, forgive me. The entire course of that process, we are learning and folding those lessons into more lessons until we get to the end. When we get to the opposition, and you know, we have the big test there. And then we get more and more far along. And we come back to the beginning. We complete the circle of life, the circle of the seed, the circle of human development, the circle of the moon around the sun. Pick your circle. So we are going back to the very beginning here when we're looking at retrograde Mercury going to 0 degrees Virgo and intersecting in that in conjunction to Pluto. We're going back to the beginning here. So look at the origin of your paranoid stories. Look at what you might be missing. And resolve to get more information before you burn the house down. Because if you do decide to proceed on incomplete or uninformed or dark information, you're going to have to make up for that when Mercury once again goes forward. As another in conjunction to Pluto. Oh my. So it's an interesting thing to have. It's right on my ascendant, so it's something that has really hit me quite hard. Looking at my own jumping to conclusions, or I can insert dark information or insecurities into what might actually be more simple. These are days where we can really find out what our triggers are. Pluto will show us what's deep, what's scary. So if we put our energy, our mental energy, more into analysis of what those conclusions and those dark stories are, rather than making somebody else pay for it or jumping to conclusions or doing things that we might regret later after we get more information, it's advised. So I mentioned that I have this Mars Jupiter conjunction. It's exact in the sky for everybody. I have it right at 16 degrees. Square to my Mars, square to my Jupiter. Conjunct my South Node. Therefore, it's opposite the North Node, so it's lighting up that whole Grand Cross. So I'm shaky today because there's so much coursing through me. I have had a massive Kundalini awakening over the last year. I've had energetic surges before, but not like this. This is epic and painful and uncomfortable, necessary. Higher self asked for this on some level, but I don't remember my ego asking for it. I really don't remember that, because it didn't. If we know what we're getting into when we ask for the truth, I think sometimes we wouldn't ask. So that's been a it's been a hard change. I know we romanticize energetic awakenings, Kundalini awakenings, and it's often sold to us as something that, you know, is positive and it feels good and you get this surge and you know everything and you never have problems again and you never suffer and filled with wisdom and the spirit. And yeah, there's some of that. Maybe that's true for other people. That's not true for me. It's been more about purging and being really honest and seeing the worst in myself and making room, changes for things that are good for me. You're shedding your skin, especially when you choose to strip it off yourself. That's not a romantic process. And my identity is so different. An ego death will do that to you, and it ain't over. I'm still in the throes of it. And I'm so different that I was, a year and a half ago. It was really, the beginnings of it was really the lunation cycles last February. And then when Venus went into retrograde, the shadow period in June, that's when shit hit the fan. It continues to hit as well. I'm probably not going to be out of this until Pluto's completely done being retrograde. I'm sorry, square. It's coming back to touch my moon again. Till the very end of the year. But it's, sometimes we can have those transits where it's a pile up. It's a lot at once. Other years we get the Goldilocks zone where we don't have much pressure. Yeah, things happen more easily for us. So, you have to hang in there when you have these things. You can't run away from it. And there's a lot of people that are in this position. There's a lot of people that are in this position this year because we're going through a collective ascension, a collective change in consciousness. We're, as a whole, starting to view reality differently, to understand ourselves differently, to have different priorities. My priorities have certainly changed. And I haven't had the energy to devote to supporting myself that I usually have, because I've had to devote it to taking care of myself spiritually and energetically. So I haven't been around as much. I haven't been working as much. I haven't been as available. If you want to contribute to Jules' Kundalini Poverty Fund, you can do that below. I won't turn you down. I've had to really pull myself out of the game and focus on my health. So that's what's most important, is your health. Your mental, your spiritual, your emotional health, your physical health. Most of the time we forget about the other types of health. We focus on our physical health. If we're good there, we're good. You may be suffering in other areas. You really have to devote your attention to recalibrating, restructuring, coming back to square one. And having that Mercury in Virgo moment where we begin a different practice. We begin a different practice. Routine and health are so connected. And when we are pulled down into the throes of a difficult transit, oftentimes in some ways, in some aspects of our life, we're just keeping our head above the surface. We're just surviving. And there can be other aspects of our life where we're actually doing really, really well. We're thriving. Sometimes we can have those years where it's all on target. Sometimes everything's in the dumps. Depends on what cycle you're in. But I've had the luck of having some really good transits amid some really harsh transits, and most of us get those gusts of wind in our sails. This Mars-Jupiter is definitely one of those. Just Jupiter at the South Node is exact there for me today, is a spiritual and wisdom powerhouse. Mars, too. All exact. And square to my own Mars. Definitely not feeling angry. I'm feeling awake. And so energetic that I have to consciously direct that energy into what I want to consciously create. I would like to create abundance this year. I would like to create wholeness. I would like to create harmony. And I would like to bring my highest ideal vision of what my life could be into a grounded reality. When we're living in our own truth and in a way that makes sense to us, your vibe attracts your tribe. When you're trying to appeal to everybody because you can't stand to be rejected, or you can't stand to be turned down, you can't stand to be judged. If you appeal to everybody, if you're a chameleon, it makes it really hard to focus on and develop relationships that are really fitted to you, and that are really good for you, that are an energetic match, and that are more exclusively bringing good and positive and healthy things to us. So I've had to admit to things this year that previously my identity has not encompassed. I've always been a more grounded, logical astrologer, and now I have access to parts of my innerverse that allow me to have access to parts of the universe, or the outerverse, I previously I was not privy to. I didn't understand, I just wasn't able to interpret, wasn't even aware of, oblivious to. There were many things I was oblivious to. And now I get it. I get it. And it's all weirder than I thought. I mean, I've been a witch for a long time. But there was more. There was more. There's always more. it's not an easy process to awaken, because you have to let go to make room. And a birth always implies a death. So there's a lot of us that are going to be experiencing a shift. I am not special. I'm just ready. Be prepared. Because if you ask for the truth, you're probably going to get it. So I'm going to take one question here, a very generous donation, which I appreciate, guys. Ah, naturally, niece. Sun in the 10th, square moon in the 1st, in the composite, in David's sun. It's sun in the 4th, moon in the 7th. Which one is right? You're going to run across these discrepancies between the Davidson and the midpoint composite chart a lot. And unless you've looked at a lot of composites, it's hard to understand how two charts that seemingly look different can be describing the same thing. You're looking at two different versions of the same story that are showing you different aspects of a story that one isn't showing you. So it's a theme that's happening in the cardinal axes, is happening in the areas of life. It doesn't matter which way you slice it. If it's the 1st and the 10th, or the 4th or the 7th, these are the most consequential areas of life. So these are public places. The 1st and the 10th. The 1st and the 7th also are where things are pretty plain to see. So I would look at it as happening in the areas of life that are central to the relationship. They're all about you and me. That's what it's talking about. It's all about me versus you, opponents. Oh, is my microphone still? Nope, my microphone's still working. I think I just lost it down there. Thanks, guys, for telling me. Alrighty, so I think I'm just reading this last comment here. I think I'm going to get going. Oh, you guys have the best things to say. You guys have been some of you have been with me for years. Some of you have been with me from the beginning. I've been at this for quite a long time now. Some of you have been with me since you were children. I'll hear from you. You'll say, I've been watching you since I was 10 years old or 12 years old or since high school. And here you are, a full-grown adult. I do appreciate you guys. And I do recognize you. I can feel you. I can feel your support. I can feel your love. I can feel your presence. You guys are important to me. And you've given me a great life, where I get to do what I love to do. And it's rare. It's not a lot of people that get that privilege. More of us will. More of us will. As we go forward into the new paradigm? Oh, yeah. Saturn going through Pisces and going into Aries now? That's restructuring our idea, our collective idea of what work is, what earning is, what wealth is. It is not having a ton of stuff and a bunch of debt and barely being able to keep up with paying for all your stuff that you're a slave to. It's good relationships. It's love. It's having enough. It's good food. It's security. Meaningful things. Oh, so I think I'll wrap up with that. I appreciate you guys listening to me today. I think I just needed to talk. I'll check in with you tomorrow. Oh boy, Mercury will be even more retrograde, coming into conjunct my sun. So, yeah, expect some interesting vocabulary. All right, I'll catch you guys later.